Hi, everybody. I am Andra Annette, and this is my co-host, Lorilet Monegro. And today, we just wanted to come in and welcome you to this week's session of the Soul's Code. And we're going to talk a little bit about more about who we are and what we do and why we're out here meeting every week and trying to bring you a message. So we are different people in our day-to-day life than we are online. We're the same people. We're just have different purposes and meanings behind them. So I'm a nurse. She's a speech pathologist. I'm a holistic practitioner as well, but I'm not showing up here weekly trying to be somebody else's nurse and take on a caseload, and neither is she. We are trying to help people and give value, and we're going to talk a little bit about that day, what that looks like for us today. So, Laura, we had this conversation a little earlier today, and we were talking about that us being online is very different from maybe why other people are out there. Maybe they're out there selling products or courses, or they're just trying to get people in a meeting room. And we're
Yeah.
very different in that aspect. And you said something that really stuck with me. You were like, Anja, I don't need any more paperwork. I don't need a bigger
Right.
caseload. That's not why I'm here. And I don't think that you want to be anybody's nurse. And let's have that conversation because I think people need to hear that. So Miss Monegro, tell me what brings you online and what you hope to accomplish in your business life and the purpose behind you coming out, because I know you're value based and you want to help people just like I do. So tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, as I was kind of touching base with you in our conversation over the phone, you know, I think that sometimes people mistake the idea that we want to provide one value in terms of having frank conversations and open discussions about subject matters and everyday issues that people face and that we face as professionals and our own viewpoints. But on the other hand, I was like, wait a minute. I hope people aren't thinking that I'm trying to suggest, hey, I want to be your child's individualized speech therapist because I already have a caseload. It's not like I'm looking for a caseload. My purpose for being online is because in the midst of all that, when I had an office and I was busy and busy and busy and getting dizzy, many people wanted me to give them extra help in terms of, hey, what can I do at home? Can you give me some support? Can you give me some ideas? I'll pay you to come to my home and just teach me some things. And so I kind of said, you know what? I can't I can't do that. You imagine if I go around going into everybody's home trying to do that. And then I said, maybe if I create something that is more of a virtual type of support for those parents who want that kind of guidance, then that's something I can do online where we can get on a call, talk about, hey, what kind of support are you looking to have? Where is it that you're not having an understanding? And that's where that whole idea of bringing this online came up for me to be able to be of that kind of support. Also, of course, there are parents, and I've had graduate clinicians ask me, "Hey, I'm a newbie in this. I am just starting out. Do you want to have some time?" And we talk, and they want to pick your brain. They want to do all of these things, but really, they want somebody to hold their hand, and maybe they want to discuss like a plan forward. They want to get into graduate school because maybe they studied undergrad and not the graduate level. And I've had others who want to go for a doctorate, not necessarily in speech pathology. Like my doctorate is in executive leadership. And people are like, hey, that was a nice pivot. And what are you going to do with that? And things of that nature. So that's more why I'm out here, because people have sought me for other kinds of supports. And I'm like, it makes no sense for me to not make myself available, create programs or courses around this to help people whoever wants to get them, right? This is not me engaging in a private, I'm your therapist kind of engagement. That's not at all. Um, I also have had parents whose children are not necessarily having a speech and language impairment, but they're noticing that the kid is kind of like, hey, taking too long. So there are delays, and they
Hmm.
may not necessarily be enough of a delay to be considered for services that are mandated or paid for by the city or state where they're at. And again, the same situation. Hey, but what can I do? Can you help me? Can you guide me? Can you give me things? And so, again, it's all in that mission of service, but knowing that my time is valuable, that pulling all these things together takes time, that, if I'm going to sit and give you a class on how to do something or a process, it is still my time. So there's a value to that and the years of experience. So sometimes people are like, wait, but I'm going to see you for this, that, and the other. And I can go and search online. Well, go ahead. You can. I am not stopping you. People don't pay me when I did it privately for the time that I'm with them. They pay me for all that I bring, all of the years that I bring in that small snippet in time, which is a very different kind of value. It's not a minute per hour per session per this kind of engagement. Um, so I felt like this is why we had this conversation, because I was like, wait a minute, I have a feeling people are gonna think that I'm like not employed or I don't have anything to do with my time. And far from that.
So I get that. I totally get that. And I think people have a very different view of why I'm out here.
Yeah, exactly. Why are you out here? Why don't you kind of break that down?
Well, but I mean, for the same reasons you are, and I bring the same values. So there's a lot of people online talking about nutrition and health, and it's not health and it's not nutrition. And when I hear that, I know, I say to myself, how are they getting people results with this nonsense? Or are they getting people results with this? Or are they just really trying to make a sale, and at whose expense and whose cost? So I spent a better part of my life serving the public in health because I cared, and I happen to be good in that, like you're good in what you do. So there's nurses all over the world. I was listening on the news the other day that this woman could hear this guy's breathing, and as nurses, they say we have five senses. Nurses tap into like 10. We hear things we shouldn't hear. Like if we look at someone, we can tell what's going on in their body almost immediately. And she heard the way this guy was breathing, and she got some help and said, listen, this guy's gonna have a stroke. And they began CPR, and she saved his life, right? So um it takes a special kind of person to step up and help someone you don't know. Compassion, empathy, right? And I think our world has really gotten away from that, and that people don't see that we really are in this together, that that it is about helping one another. Life can be very difficult, and to navigate for different people at different times. And I think that we need that community and that support to really help one another. So
Absolutely.
do I work in a paid capacity online? I absolutely do. Are people paying me for those 40 plus years? Probably not.
Probably not.
Prob-
Probably not. Exactly.
Probably not.
And
I bring a different level, and when I'm helping people with nutrition, they really do think that I'm going to sit down and give them this diet and say, okay, this is what you have to do, have at it. And it's really not like that at all, because everybody is very different. So to do a course and to think that it's going to help hundreds of people, is really a poor misconception.
It
So
may, it may, if you're one of those people that are willing to go ahead and be a go-getter and actually go through the course, right? This is where, again, our benefit comes in as individuals. You can take a course. Let's say you created courses and it's amazing, it's wonderful. But guess what? Better is to have that course and then be like, hey, oh, and you offer live workshops too, or you combine this course and also offer one-to-one training in certain areas and all that. That's the value. That's where it's like, okay, now we have a conversation and now we've up leveled the game because now it's not just a passive intake of info one way. There's actually someone on the other side of that phone holding you accountable, or that Zoom meeting, or the weekly trainings, or a call,
exactly.
or assignments. So, yeah, courses can help many people. And I actually have a few things that I'm going to put out there. And I know they do because I've taken tons of courses on my own. They help me.
So have I, but
But
there's not that level of accountability. So just to give you an example, I did this challenge, lose belly fat quickly, right? So
yeah.
it's based on the systems that help you lose weight, the systems that are your metabolism, and all the systems that work together to bring health.
Hmm.
Your whole body works together, right? But I created this program for me, for someone who had autoimmune diseases, someone who was struggling with weight loss and had a leaky gut, right? And I said, okay, which systems are involved in that
Yep.
process of healing? How do I target them? And how do I get back to that person I was before
Hmm.
all this stuff started happening? And I know it helped many people because I did it online for free and for paid, but I targeted very specific groups
Hmm.
because I'm different than other people. I
Correct.
was dealing with all of those things, and somebody might just want to lose a few pounds. I said, so if someone just wants to lose a few pounds, will this course that I'm putting out there, because I took this challenge out of a major course that I did, I said, will this help them? So I did it for free in different groups. I invited people who just wanted to lose weight. I invited people with digestive issues, and I targeted people that had autoimmune disease to see
Right.
if I could get those same results for those groups of people with this one process. And it helped all of them. And I said, okay,
So
now
you're on to
we
something.
now we have a system that I know can work to specific people. But I tested it. It's not just about saying, oh, this worked on me, so it will work on everybody else, because it doesn't.
May not.
Even if someone does put in the time, everybody is really different when it comes to health. They have different comorbidities, they're raised different, they have different genetics. So health is different. I mean, you can give someone a healthy nutrition plan and they will get better, right? If they start following better health practices and implement those habits. But it
Right.
doesn't mean that everybody who eats leafy green vegetables and whole grains is going to automatically lose weight, because you don't know what the underlying disease processes that cause them to gain that weight. Was it
You,
an emotional thing that is holding them back? Is it a physical thing that's holding them back? So that's where that one-to-one is really necessary.
right. Yes, and that's exactly why, yeah, you can offer something that's kind of like takes you, let's say if this is by levels, to level one. But the minute you get on that phone call and you uncover, right? Because that's what happens with these discovery calls. You end up uncovering different things. Then the game plan now becomes very different because
Mm.
now it's not just someone out there going getting something in general. Yeah, general things help. It's kind of like when I go to the store and I buy a size medium, it fits. But guess what? If I have that actually tailored to me, it'll fit differently. I'll feel differently. I'll carry myself differently because it brings a different level of confidence in being assured this is the right fit for me. And I think this is where our ability to pick up on these differences and to tailor things to the needs of the moment. There is a dynamic process that happens in that conversation, in that interaction. It's kind of like what you said. You uncover there are some emotional pieces. There might be some, personal background stuff that has kept a person in a mindset maybe that necessarily may not be helping them. So we don't know that. There might be some bad things that happen. And so our job really is kind of like to guide the person, is not to physically go there and be like, hey, you're going to do this at 1 o'clock. You're going to do this. No, everybody's an adult. We're going to have open conversations, training, discussions, those kinds of things, material that is particular to guide you in this specific direction or path that we've decided. And you have to go home and implement. That's what you are accountable for as the adult in the interaction. And whether that be with your child, whether that be with an older adult or a caregiver that you're caring for, whether that be you yourself trying to transform something in you, no one is going to go do that other part of the deal. So we bring in our expertise, past experience, knowledge, and awareness, our competency into the interaction. And the other person on the other side has to bring their baggage, be honest about what that is, and then say, okay, I have X, Y, and Z that we've uncovered in this discovery. And here is the piece that I'm going to pick up and I'm going to work with. And the same thing, there's no quick fixes. I don't engage in people that think, oh, yeah, well, I do this and everything will be perfect. No, we'll do that and we'll have a response.
Point. It's a starting point, like you said. So I was online today, responding to a message that we do a group together, and I was responding to her and I glanced over and there's a group, no excuses. And I saw the comments. It comes up in my feed because I know the nutritionist, and she was saying, how do I start when I just don't care about myself enough to try? So I said, Andra, you got to answer this. I said, oh, love. I said, oh, love. I said, the hardest part about weight loss is really doing that inner work. I said, so I want you to do yourself and me a favor. I said, because this tugged at my heartstrings. I said, I want you to ask yourselves that important question, why you don't care about yourself or think that you deserve to feel better and have all day energy, or that you should feel better. I said, and I named a few questions like I wanted her to ask. And I talked about my journey just briefly. I didn't want it to be about me because we were talking about her. And I said, I do totally understand what you're saying. I said, because, I was over 300 pounds. And when I looked in that mirror, I hated the me staring back. I said, but these are the questions I had to ask myself. And,
yeah,
I listed a few. I said, I saw that even though I worked in healthcare, I wasn't taking care of myself.
Yeah, there was a disconnect, right?
Yeah.
From the actual reality of things. And that's because, sometimes we're struggling with these other issues. And the same thing happens, whether that work is for a parent that needs to support their child, right? As it happens to be in many of the cases when I have done private work, or whether that be the parent themselves needing some work personally on themselves before they can even deal with their child. Because there are many emotional and mental blockages that emerge out of the experience of having a child diagnosed with these kinds of developmental issues or learning needs. So it's a whole process, and all these things sometimes aren't as a parent until we have these conversations and we're like more personalizing the content and it's like, oh, okay, so this is what you're struggling. Maybe it's again self-care. Maybe it's setting boundaries. Maybe it's, behavioral issues in the home. So many things that could be creating very difficult management around having a child who is struggling, whether that be with the learning, with the reading, with the writing, because it doesn't always fall into oral communication. It could be another area related to speech and language. And so these things we don't necessarily know right off the bat is not about a diagnosis. That's fine and well. It's about how you're managing your everyday,
Yeah.
what structures you have in place, what exactly is your that you're needing. Many parents don't even stop to think about that. They're so overwhelmed just with the different appointments that they might have.
But there's the other piece of it too. A lot of times kids, children are having children. And
That's another thing.
they might not have been ready to have a child. And then
Oh,
they have a child with developmental delays and other things. So and they're still babies themselves trying to navigate their life and how that works and how they fit the things that they need into their day to day. And then they have somebody else that has more needs and they're trying to figure out how to navigate that system and work that in. So there are all these different scenarios in
mhm.
health, in speech, and in personalizing that care that you give.
Absolutely.
And no two people are going through the same thing at the same time. I mean, everybody's gone through maybe grief, everybody's gone through job loss. People have had difficult relationships, other people have good relationships, but it's about finding out where that person is stuck in that minute.
That's right.
You know what
Because
I
this
mean? They
is
might be
where,
navigating a
yeah,
divorce for the first time and
huge.
not knowing what that's going to look like for that child who needs that consistency, who
Mhm.
all of a sudden is missing a parent or missing something else that's usually consistent in their life. So there's all these different scenarios that do pop up. And
Absolutely.
and in even in health, like there's been times that I've worked with people that were working on their appearance because they wanted to look better for their partner. And that looks very different than wanting to do it for you,
Right.
especially if you're still working on yourself and then that relationship ends and they're the reason why you started it.
Yeah.
But wait a minute, didn't are where are you in this? Um so
It's true.
you have to find out. So I have this thing and I've said it online a few times and I think people are like, who does she think she is?
No, but it's true. People
And
sometimes don't understand though how serious this is, right?
but I
Like,
mean I don't even care about their perception of me because I wouldn't get out of bed in the morning if I worried about what everybody thought about me. At this stage in my life, that's the least of my worries. But I made a comment, like I was on someone's TV show recently, and he said to me, um, like, what type of clients do I work with? And I said, people that want to achieve success. I said, when I do that discovery call to see if someone's a fit, I'm not worried about fitting into theirs. They need to fit into mine. I said,
right.
if they are not 7 out of 10, I'm ready, I'm committed. I said, they're not even on my radar. I said, because there are so many people out there that really do need that help and want that help
Want
and
it.
are 10 all in
They're
and
all
want to
in.
do it. I said, so I want people who want to work towards the same success and goal that I'm trying to give them. But
That's right.
otherwise, it's just me working the program.
That's right. That's
And
right.
I don't do that because I was working with someone and I saw that they just weren't committed and I said, this isn't working out for me. You know, you're not showing up. or you're late and I give you certain things to do to work on that are going to help you and you're just not doing them. So let me ask you, why did you start this? Has the reasons changed? Because
Mhm.
you're not going to get to those goals that we've created for you if this is what you're doing. I said something that could be yours in a month could take you a year like this. You gotta
Exactly.
you gotta step up your game. What is it? So and I don't say that to be mean, but I believe in being transparent with people, and I do believe in a little bit of tough love, you know.
I think that when you're holding them accountable, it's going to feel tough no matter what you say, because at that point, it's pointing out something that they're not necessarily succeeding in, right? If they're dropping the ball on their own ideals, it tells you also how much that emotional piece needs to be continuously worked on. It's
Yeah.
something that we all face these challenges, all of us. I mean, I've never met anyone that has achieved anything worthwhile have done it by chilling and laughing their heads off. They have to work and
you have
overcome things.
you have to work, but you do have to address that piece. So I didn't dismiss her as a client. I talked about all the things she was doing right. You know, um, you're doing this and you're doing this, and these are all great things, and you've been very successful at them. But when it comes to that other piece and looking at yourself and doing that inner work, because if people aren't exercising or people know that they're an emotional eater and they're at the market buying all that junk food,
Hmm.
they know what's going to happen, right? So why am I teaching you how to read labels? Why are we going over this? And the importance of that if you're just going to go and do this anyway. So we need to look at why you feel so comfortable in that discomfort, because sometimes people are uncomfortable with success and doing well because they've been used to staying here at mediocrity for a long time, and they bought into the beliefs that other people have given them, not necessarily their own, that they
Mhm.
are going to fail at things or they're not going to do well. So you do have to call them out a little bit on that, and bring it to their attention, and find out what's at the root cause of that, why they feel um almost guilty putting themselves first.
That's right.
I've had clients that when you tell them, you have to put yourself first, you got to do the self-care, and I can't do that. I've never done that in my life, and this just isn't going to work for me. I have no idea. I said, well, I got news for you. I said, you're not going to succeed in your business life, your financial life, your relationships. I said, because if you don't put yourself first, you're just basically a doormat for everybody else. You
I mean, you
are.
say it so bluntly, but that's really the truth,
But it is. You
At
become
some
that yes
point,
person and you stop taking care of you. I was that doormat for a really long time.
you know
So
something, Andra? Sorry to interrupt, but I really think that at some point we're gonna have to make a show, a session on this idea that you just brought out, because there's so much to unpack and how it impacts the ability to even say yes to things that people really need, the idea of feeling worthy, of feeling the need to love yourself enough. All of these things are critical. And yes, there may be real issues, but many times we want to kind of be able to outgrow that. And how we do that is by exploring why are the issues there to begin with, you
yeah.
know? So I
Yeah.
love what you just brought out, but that's a can of worms.
But it's true. I just, I'm doing my own story, and I didn't think it was going to be that hard. I mean, I've gone through a lot of stuff, but it's different having a conversation with yourself live and having a conversation with someone else. So I just did a 6-minute video. It's one of my shortest sessions ever. And I was talking about setting boundaries and why that's a healthy thing. That a lot of people think that boundaries are negative and that, that's your way of saying that you want more time or you don't want to, you're not giving. Because some people that are in a relationship, when you set boundaries and say, no, I'm sorry, this hour every day is for me, so I'll see you at 10, they think you're being selfish with your time. And if you feed into that and say, okay, I'll do it later, it's how those things slip away, you know.
Absolutely.
It's how
Absolutely.
it really is how those things slip away. I remember, I can tell you exactly where that started for me. Like when that transition started, where Andra started saying no to her and yes to other people. I was separated from my first husband in the process of getting divorced. I waited. I said, I'm not gonna get involved with anybody. I'm just gonna focus on me. I did meet somebody in that time, but I wouldn't pay him any attention. I couldn't. I said, this time it's all about
Right?
you. It's
Because
all about
emotionally you
you.
weren't ready. That's how it is.
And I said, when it's ready, when I'm ready, I'm ready. And I wasn't just ready. But then I said, okay, now I'm ready. And we started dating. And next thing you know, he was asking me to marry him. And then the next thing he had 2 children from another marriage. And the next thing you know, he was living with me. Then they were living with me. And then he was going and doing all the things that he needed to do for himself. And because I was the woman, I was left with the children. And that's okay because I love them to death. That was, I would never begrudge him. And I'm grateful that they're a part of my life. But I started managing everybody around me and stopped managing my feelings, what I was
Mhm.
doing for me. And little by little by little, started putting myself last,
Mhm.
and some people say, well, parents are supposed to do that. No, you're not. No, you're not. Because if you don't put yourself first and manage your stress, manage your feelings, manage that self-care,
Yeah.
then you're not going to have good interactions with your children, and you're teaching them not to set healthy boundaries.
It really impacts how you show up.
It impacts everybody. So how you show up. And I remember how that started happening, but I was always in a service-based business. So I would, stay late. Like I remember they started when I remember in the hospital, and even when I was working in a nursing home, they started giving us a lot more functions,
Mhm.
but we couldn't finish on time and we weren't getting paid if we didn't. So I don't care where you're at. I'm giving you 20 new things that you got to complete every day before you leave. But if you can't do it by that time, we'll address that at the next meeting, but you want to punch out at that time. So I mean, if you have to sign for medications that you gave or do that care, because I could give shit less about signing for something. I need to provide that care, then I'll worry about that. So yeah, and I remember that I started staying late even in that, like, and because I
Right,
felt,
because so much of the demand was increasing. The
but I
performance demand on you was being increased, you
but
know?
I felt an obligation. So
Hmm.
I felt an obligation to them, but not to me, to say, okay, it's 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock. I'm
Right, the
off, go
boundaries.
home, and then I'd get stuck in 2-hour traffic. Many times I'd forget something and go back because I had promised somebody I'd do something before I
Right.
left, and I was that person of my word. So you can get away from boundaries very quick, but we are going to do a separate show, just this. But I think we said enough for today. You guys probably say, who are they really? Who are they really? But I think you have a sense of who we are. We are value-based people, and we do have a lot of different skill sets, and
Right.
people are our business.
Absolutely, helping them and supporting them. If the child is just delayed, hey, many of the tools and activities that I may be able to share could fast track them. So, sometimes you're better off just paying again a professional that knows insights and depth of knowledge in an area than you going on a scavenger hunt and trying to figure it out on your
And
own.
hoping you found someone that actually is legitimate. So a
It's like
lot of people
the
don't
plumber,
realize that we're licensed by the
right?
state, the board certified. We have to know this stuff. So
Yeah.
we're not guessing at what
Oh
what we're
no.
helping you with. We have 40 years or 20 years
Yeah.
or 30 years of knowledge in whatever we're teaching. And
Yeah.
it's
No.
not guesswork for us. We know
No.
this,
We've been
the
doing this every day.
our states say that we are qualified to really do that. And you have people online that are just self-qualifying, showing up
Oh no,
and
you also have people online making up stuff that they've never really physically have practiced, but because they have probably been doing certain work, or maybe they've been doing other caretaking, they now think they have it all down, nail packed. And not that I'm taking away value from what life teaches us, but there are things that there's something worthy about someone who dedicates their time and lifetime to the study and knowledge and awareness and understanding of a subject matter. We can't go around thinking that doesn't have a value because your priorities in life are determined by those focus points, right? That we establish for ourselves. And I think that the person has to know what is it that they're after, because if their child is getting a speech support in the schools, maybe they just want to get some other ways to support their kids at home, and that's fine too. You can do that. You can do all kinds of things, and sometimes it's just being worried sick, and you're like, wait, I don't know, is my kid delayed, not delayed, I don't know. And maybe you just kind of want to get, again, that first initial step. What should I be looking for? What should I be doing? Many times, especially new parents, they don't even know which way to go, and you have pediatricians telling them to wait and wait and wait, I don't know for what. That was one of our conversations at some point. They're like gatekeepers of I don't know what.
I know
No, the sooner you act, the better. How are
that's
you going to just stay waiting
the
around?
earlier that you intervene, and it's the same with health. When you catch things early, you have a better chance at nipping it in the bud, you know. But we're gonna end this week's session because we could talk for hours and we don't want to lose
I don't
you.
want that.
So, guys, we want to thank you for tuning in to this
Yeah.
session. I think you got a nice taste of who we are and why we're here to help. And we'll see you soon on the next session. Have a great day.
Bye.